Hi, I'm Charles Leslie, and this is the very first episode of Behind the Beach, a series where we have real conversations about the future of Placencia. Today, I'm joined by Shane Kenny, co-owner of the Placencia Beach Club. Hi, Shane.
Thank you for having me.
Today, we're talking about erosion, development, community tension, and how we find common ground in the face of change. This isn't about blame, it's about clarity, compassion, and the kind of honest dialogue that helps us move forward together. Let's get into it.
Sounds good.
All right. Here's the first question, Shane. Tell us a bit about what drew you to Placencia and made you want to not just invest in beachfront property here in Placencia, but make it your home.
Okay, yeah, Heather and I, when we decided to relocate, we kind of had a couple of criteria that we put together. We knew, number one, we wanted to be in the Caribbean, preferably beachfront. And number two was we wanted to be in a tourism-related industry. And so, we did a lot of searching around. We did some searching in Dominican Republic, did a lot of online searches, things like that. But when we came to Placencia, we just kind of connected with kind of the village life. We weren't looking just to make an investment. We were looking to make this our home. And so what we really connected with was kind of the slower, easier way of life that the village kind of provides. Coming from the American hectic lifestyle, that really appealed to us. And so, like I said a minute ago, it was more about building a new home. This is where we're moving to. This isn't a side business for us, a side gig. This is our home at this point. And so that's what we were looking for when we were kind of looking at properties.
Okay. Well, on behalf of Placencia, thanks for choosing Placencia, Belize.
And thanks for having us.
And of course, thank you for doing this interview. I think this interview will be very important. And interviews like this.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the series kind of develop.
All right. You've lived in Placencia for over 6 years now and are permanent resident of Belize. How have you tried to integrate and build a positive relationship with the local community in that time? You can segue from the first question, the answer to that question, and elaborate more on this question.
Like I said earlier, let me start over because I give you a break there. Like I said earlier, this isn't just a side gig for us, a side business. This is our new home. And so one of the things that Heather and I ask ourselves all the time is how are we enriching our community? It's actually kind of the mission statement of the Beach Club is enriching our community. So we're always looking for ways to enrich the community, but we're not the kind of loud and proud kind of people. So you're not going to see our logo printed on every event t-shirt. You're not going to see us out on Facebook saying, hey, here's the great thing that we did for the community today. But we're going to be more behind the scenes. And so while I could give you a list of things that we've done in the community over the last 6 years and we continue to do in the community to support the community, that's just not who we are. And so I guess what I would say to you is we are there, we are supporting the community, we are looking for things that help make Placencia a better place. But you're probably not going to really see us out there trumpeting, tooting our own horn, however you want to say it, about the things that we are doing.
Well, again, on behalf of the Placencia community, I thank you for what you're doing. I have heard through the grapevine that you contribute a lot to our community, but you seem to be one of those people that are more humble about what you do than trying to use it as a part of your marketing strategy.
Yeah. There's been several occasions where, we've been accused of doing something just for the good of the business. And, the example is the Placencia sign out here, right? I want to say a lot, but there are some people in the community that believe that the sign was put there just to draw people to the beach club. And that's not the purpose behind the Placencia sign in this location. The purpose was this. We already had the big turtle chair down at the point, right? Mm-hmm. So there's an Instagram moment already at the pier. And we thought if we had an Instagram moment up here, it would require tourists or encourage tourists to walk the entire village up the sidewalk. And that's really what the purpose was. And it works. During busy season, we probably get 75 or 100 people a day that come through here and take their picture. Of that, a very small percentage of them come to the beach club. And so it was never done to be just for the business. And I think that brings up another interesting point, and it's like, does it matter? Even if I did it for my business, it also benefits the community.
Yeah.
So if it's benefiting both, it's even, in my mind, that's even better. Now, not everything we do, we're looking to benefit for the business and the community. Some things are just for the community. But I just use that as an example of something that's come up multiple times now on Facebook and other places. And I think there's a little misunderstanding about why the sign was put there and what its purpose is.
Oh yeah, I actually sat on the committee briefly when that sign came about, and to make it a short story, they did it because, as you said, the dock was there, that big chair was there, and they put it up this side for a few reasons, but one of the main reasons was to create a link because no one was using the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So they put the sign here so people actually want to walk between the dock area and the sign. So
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of people especially during the busier times of the year, that come up here, just take the picture. They'll even pull in our parking lot, park, go take their picture, then go and leave. And like, we're not out there like, you can't park here because you're not coming to get a beer from us. No, it's just part of being part of the community. It's like, come take your picture with the sign.
Yep. All right. So there's been a lot of talk about erosion lately. So let's discuss that for a few minutes. When you first purchased your property, were you already concerned about erosion, or did that become a concern later on?
And you're talking going back several years now. I would say I probably had a general idea that climate change was causing erosion just generally around the globe, right? I don't know that it was really in front of mind, if that's a good way to put it. I would say for us, the erosion problem really became an issue for us that we noticed was going to be a problem a little over 2 years ago. And that's when my wife and I, we regularly walk the beach with the dog, and we started noticing the erosion that they were seeing up at Chabalmar, to the point where over a couple of months, it was knocking on the doors of their buildings. And so I actually met with Chris Rothing, the GM at Chabalmar, and had a conversation with him about what he was planning to do. And kind of the end of that conversation was he was going to test a few ideas, but in the end, he had to do something. And I don't disagree with that statement. You can't have the buildings falling down because the beach is eroded so far. But as soon as they put their rock wall out and backfilled their beach, within a couple of weeks, we started seeing serious erosion here in front of the beach club. Sometimes a couple feet per night.
Wow.
And so that's when we kind of, erosion really became an issue for this part of the village, when we really started noticing it and knowing it was going to be a factor for us.
All right. So can you walk us through why you decided to build the seawall? What was your main goal in doing that?
Well, I would say the main goal wasn't to build a wall. It was to save the beach, right? And I think some of that's gotten lost in translation over the last 2 years. We are fully aware of the fact that there's public beach that surrounds the entire coast of Belize. But we felt like, like Eworth did with Silk Keys, that someone had to jump in and do something. The authorities were either being very, very slow or didn't seem to care. In fact, the research we did talking to other property owners up the north of the peninsula that have dealt with the same issue told us that they tried contacting all the relevant ministries. They tried getting their lawyers involved and all this kind of stuff and got absolutely nowhere in regard to dealing with the erosion. And so their feedback to us was like, if no one else is going to take care of it, then we need to take care of it, or somebody needs to take care of it. And that was kind of our approach. Probably should be more of a community-driven approach, right? But back 2 years ago, the community of the village was not talking about erosion. Erosion really wasn't even on their radar.
That's true.
It's not really until the erosion reached Barefoot that we started seeing the community start to all of a sudden realize we've got to do something about this problem. And my hope is that it's not too little too late, and that we still have time to to save and recover the beaches here.
I am fully in agreement there. Was it a difficult decision to intervene on the beach, knowing that the first 66 feet of shoreline is technically public Crown land?
No, I don't think so. Like I said earlier, Heather and I, or me, you can say we never thought that beach was ours. We've never taken claim to it. We've never wanted to take claim to it. Like out here in front of the beach club, we have people come all the time and they'll throw a towel down and sit down and enjoy the beach because we rake our beach every day. So people know, come here, the beach is clean. Except for when there's lots of sargassum like we're seeing right now. And we don't bother them. We'll go out and ask them if they want a beer or whatever, but we're not telling them you can't be here. This is the public beach. You can use it if you want. And so like we never did it in a way to say, hey, we're taking ownership of this beach. What we did is we took ownership of the problem.
Got it.
And so our goal really was to stop the erosion that was happening and provide a way to help the beach kind of grow back. And over the almost 2 years the wall was there, it was working. I think this is a good opportunity to step back too and talk about Crown land a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think there might be a little bit of misunderstanding of Crown land and how it legally works. And so I want to make sure I understood it. So I actually discussed it with Mr. Anthony Mai, the CEO of the Department of Environment. And he confirmed to me that the 66 feet of Crown land is a set static line. Mm-hmm. And that means that if your beach erodes back 67 feet, there is no more public beach. Mm-hmm. That has now become private beach. Mm. It doesn't move with the tides. It doesn't move with the erosion.
Got it.
It was set at one time, and he confirmed that is the way it works. And so there are spots, even right here in the village, that are feet from being private beach because of the erosion that we're seeing. And so, again, like I said earlier, I hope that doesn't happen. That's what we need to be fixing and working for.
So basically, from what you just said, is the protection of Crown land should be the responsibility of the government because it's government land, right?
It's Crown land, yeah.
It's government land. It doesn't get really simpler than that. And I will be doing an episode on just that particular topic, but that will be an episode down the road. All right? So some locals have expressed concern that individual interventions like seawalls or breakwaters may cause erosion further down the beach by interrupting the natural flow of sand. Is that something you were aware of or considered?
Oh yeah, we were very aware of it and did consider it. Like I said earlier, as soon as Chabal Mar put their rocks out and backfilled their beach, within a couple of weeks we started seeing the erosion increase here in front of the beach club. So we did know that it could happen. That's why, we got together, myself and then two neighbors north of me, when we put our seawall out. So it wasn't just an individual effort. There was three of us. We also invited our neighbors south of us to be involved in the conversation. They never responded. Okay. And so it's not like we just charged ahead. So we did know it could be a problem. We kind of hoped maybe what we had done wouldn't do that. But in the end, it did cause some erosion further down. I think you could argue both sides of how much it really caused, given that the seawall has been removed now for almost 3 months, and the beaches south of us are eroded almost as bad as they were before the seawall was taken out. And so I think our seawall had been in long enough where the equilibrium had kind of happened. And we did some things when we put the seawall in thinking about that stuff. Like we didn't use an excavator to put the rocks in because we didn't want the excavator on the beach. So they were all hand placed. We didn't put the geotextile fabric behind the wall to make sure we trapped all the sand. We kind of were going to let Mother Nature, over time, let the sand build up in the wall, and that would act as the geotextile barrier for us. And so we did think about some things and do some things that we thought were maybe a little better than what we had seen. But it definitely was we definitely knew, and then did happen, there was some erosion to the south of us.
Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the Ministry of Works at that time, now Ministry of Infrastructure, Development and Housing, did something similar with rocks in front of the Placencia Airport?
Yeah, they did a slightly different approach than we
Okay,
took. So what they did is technically called a rip wrap,
got it.
where they put the rocks on the shoreline as the way it is today.
Got it.
We did ours. We kind of put the rocks out where the 66-foot reserve should be from our property line.
Got it.
And then rather than backfill like Chabal Mar did, we decided to let Mother Nature throw the sand over the wall and slowly build it up. And it was working. We were almost, during low tide, you could walk almost all the way out to the wall
Okay.
in some places. And so I think we were 6 months to a year from it being completely filled in by Mother Nature rather than us buying and dumping a bunch of sand in behind it.
Okay. All right. Do you think there's enough clear guidance or regulation in Belize on how to deal with beach erosion in a coordinated way?
Oh, absolutely not. So I think Belize obviously needs a clear, like, kind of global, national, and a local plan for dealing with erosion. Here's a perfect example. So you're supposed to get a permit to put a seawall in. So we did apply for the permit after we put the seawall in, realized that we skipped that step. So we applied for it, and there's a list of things that you need to have. So we took everything that was on the list that we could get. What's not on that list is a letter of no objection from the Department of Environment.
Yes.
And I actually brought this up with Mr. Mai when I got a chance to meet with him. Because now the Department of Environment is now saying that they're the people that are responsible for seawalls and damage to the environment caused by seawalls and things like that, which I can see his argument and his point of view on that. But there was nothing that told me I needed that requirement. So when we get a letter from the Department of Environment saying you're in violation of Section 75-23A or whatever it was, I was like, why am I getting letters from the Department of Environment about my seawall 2 years after I put it in?
2 years?
Yeah, almost 2 years after we put it in. And so all of a sudden there's this new requirement that wasn't even published anywhere. And even when I turned the paperwork in to the Lands Planning and Use Department at Lands, they weren't like, you're missing your authorization from the Department of Environment. And so definitely there's a disconnect between the departments themselves, as well as having clear guidance on this is how we're going to deal with erosion in Belize. And that's, I think, what is being worked on now, and I'm hoping that we're going to see here real soon.
All right. Let's continue. Do you think property owners should be allowed or even expected to protect their beachfront property if the government isn't stepping in to address problems like erosion?
Well, we've seen this in a couple of cases, right? Silk Key is an example. Monkey River is an example where communities stepped in and started trying to protect Monkey River that was eroding away. I don't think property owners should be expected to take care of the public beach in front of them, but I do believe they should be allowed to. It's not about ownership, it's about stewardship. And so the way we've always looked at the beach, the public beach in front of the beach club here in front of our property is, if we take care of the little piece that's in front of us, and the neighbor next to us takes care of the little piece in front of them, and the neighbor down there takes care of the piece a little in front of them, then the beach gets taken care of. Whether it's just picking up trash or taking care of sargassum or raking the beach every once in a while to get the trash and leaves and seaweed and everything out of it. And then that extends to seawalls. But what we need clear guidance from both national and local government that tell us, okay, if you're going to do something to stop erosion from happening, here's the guidelines that you have to follow. That way we know that if we go and put rocks in the water to this specification, then I'm not going to be getting letters from Lands and Department of Environment and everybody else. I think if those were in place, I think you would see a lot of these property owners that have acted individually would have taken the approach of saying, oh, this is how I'm supposed to deal with it. I'll go ahead and take care of that. And then the government doesn't have to, and it's great for them. They don't have to spend the money on it then, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that definitely we need some guidelines.
Yeah, and that would make it a more coordinated, encouraged effort.
Yeah, like I said, as long as you're following the guidelines, they'll give you the permit to do it. They'll support you with any red tape that needs to be taken care of, and then allow us to just handle the problem, whether it's rocks or sticks or any other number of ideas that are out there for taking care of this problem.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Okay, Shane, we're now in community and responsibility. Let's continue. Is there space for collaboration here? Is an ideal world, what would a fair community-driven solution to the erosion issue look like to you? For example, would it involve all the neighbors, local leaders, and experts working together on a comprehensive plan?
Yeah, I think somewhat like the response to erosion by property owners has been piecemeal, right? This owner does this, this owner does this, and I say owner, I mean the owner of the beachfront property behind the public beach. This one does this, this one does this. I kind of feel like we really need a coordinated effort in getting a plan pulled together that does include the authorities, whether it's Ministry of Lands or Department. It's not Ministry of Lands, is it? It's
Ministry, I believe, of Natural Resources.
Yeah, Ministry of Natural Resources, Department of Lands, however you want to say it. I think, well, it includes them, Department of the Environment, and whoever else needs to be involved in that from a government standpoint. It needs to include our local leaders, right? Not just the Placencia Village Council, but St. Bite as well, because it's obviously affecting them. And then I think the property owners should be involved in this conversation as well, whether you're a business owner or just a residential property owner. And then you need experts involved as well, right? Because none of us, as much as we want to get on Facebook and say this is what we should do, none of us are beach engineers. So I would say, yeah, I think there is an approach that could be taken as long as we include kind of all of those people. And you can't include everybody, I understand that. But include those that really do want to help be part of the solution.
Absolutely.
Or at least give them a way to speak into what the solution might be.
Absolutely. So, in the past several months, we've seen a strong anti-foreigner sentiment surface in Placencia. In your view, what's driving that sentiment?
Honestly, I think it's fear. It's kind of fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of not kind of having equal opportunity with other people in the village. And I think what happens is when there's fear and frustration, then we look for a target, right? And so an easy target is the foreign business owners, the foreign landowners, the foreign developers. Just like when it comes to erosion, I'm not 100% convinced that the marina is causing the problems in Placencia. It may be causing some of the problems, but I don't necessarily believe it's causing the majority of the problems. But it's an easy target. So we can go out and pick it and stand out in front of the air, and every time erosion comes up, we can say, oh, it's because of the marina. But really, we're just pointing at a symptom of the problem as opposed to attacking how to fix it and really deal with the problem. Like I said earlier, this is a global issue. This isn't unique to the coastline of Belize. So we're not fighting something that hasn't been fought somewhere else. And so I really think there is a lot of fear and frustration that's kind of behind that. And I think there's a lot of not talking to each other that's going on as well. It's kind of like we need to stop making assumptions and post on Facebook and actually dialogue with each other and see if there's a way. You're probably going to find that a lot of times our points of view line up. We may just have different approaches to where we got to it. And I do want to say this. I understand, like, it is not the entire village that's anti-foreign owned business or anti-foreign people in the village. It's a small group of maybe 20 or 30 people, but they're very, very loud and very, very vocal. And so It feels like it's bigger. The problem is probably bigger than it really is, but it is there, and I think it's something that, as a community, we really do need to address.
The bottom line from my understanding is there's a problem. We need to find a solution to that problem. Not finding a boogeyman to blame for the problem, because that's not a solution. That creates yet another problem.
Yeah. Yep.
So, do you feel it's about more than just your seawall? Perhaps a broader frustration with how the village is changing? You touched on this on the answer from the last question, but maybe you can elaborate. Many long-term residents are worried that rapid tourism development and foreign development are changing the character of the community and not benefiting locals evenly.
I could see that. I could see that point of view. I think we need to be careful. First of all, I think we need to be careful as a community on how we do change, develop, and progress the village of Placencia. Because just like people who have lived here their entire lives, I don't want to see the charm of Placencia that drew Heather and I to move our home here disappear. We love going down the village and getting some drinks or having dinner or whatever. So I don't want to see the entire village replaced with TGI Fridays and Starbucks and all those things. And so I do agree, I think in a lot of cases with, Placencia born people who don't want to see the village really lose its character. So I do think there is an opportunity. I think it's collaborative again to make sure that we have a plan going. I would love to see the village council publish a 3, 5, and 7-year plan for the village that says, this is where we're going. These are the problems we're going to address. This is how we're going to handle growth for tourism, right now we have a housing problem in the village.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to find affordable housing here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it hurts us as a business because we have trouble finding really good employees because they don't have anywhere to live locally.
That is true.
And so that's one of the things I'd love to see in this plan for 5 or 7 years down the road is how are we gonna address a worker shortage if we continue to grow? And so I think coming together and working through those issues together, I think there's a lot of expats in this community that have a lot of experience in a lot of the things that could help this village progress. And I don't think we're really tapping into those people, especially retired people that are looking for something to do. These are engineers and lawyers and accountants and doctors and nurses and all these things that are here that we could be tapping into 30 plus years of experience that they have and learning what they know and then making that apply to us. And that's not me saying you should take the American way of doing it and put it in the village. No, I think we should look at the idea, say, we like this part of this idea, we're going to extract it and we're going to apply it here in the village the Placencia way. And I think that would be a strong way to use and even start to integrate all these retired expats that are moving here and get them engaged in the village and help us develop a plan and help us solve problems.
Exactly. We need to solve problems together because, believe it or not, these problems are affecting every single person on this peninsula. Whether you're a business owner, whether you're a resident just living here. So there's a perception among some that foreign business owners are just out for themselves and don't really care about the local community. What's your response to that? How do your actions reflect your true intentions?
I think first of all, I can speak for myself as far as what my intentions are. I can't speak for every foreign business owner or property owner here. And there have been, and there still are, some bad actors in the group. And so I'm not saying that there has not been some foreign business owners or developers that have come down here and have just done whatever they feel like, not cared about the community. But I can speak to our intentions. What we're looking for is collaboration and partnership. Everything we've done at the Beach Club we've tried to integrate it in the community as much as possible. Anyone from the public is welcome to come to the Beach Club. like we talked about earlier, we've donated to things around the village. We've fixed things. We've replaced things. You may not know about it, but there are things that we have contributed to. And so I think this goes back to the communication layer again, right? Where it's getting together as a community and discussing these things rather than shouting each other across picket lines or across Facebook or whatever. I think getting together and talking. What I hope is that people that think they have a problem with something I've done will come and say, hey, can we get a beer and talk about X, Y, or Z? And then they might find out that either their assumption was wrong or they may find out what my true intention was and have a different viewpoint. I got a perfect example of this. I sat down about a week ago with a Placencia-born resident of the village to talk about this concept of foreign business owners owning businesses in Placencia. And he said to me, he said, you know, you have some rental properties, right? And I said, yeah, we do manage a few. He said, I bet you send all of your guests to foreign-owned tour operators, your buddies. And I said, actually, you're wrong. I said, all of my sea-based tours go out with Eric at Sandy Cove Tours, which is a Belizean-owned tour operator. All my land-based tours go out with Untamed Belize, which is owned by Rodwell Ferguson's son, so Belizean-owned tour operator. The only instances we've used a non-local Belizean-owned tour operator is because someone was offering something that wasn't offered by somebody else. And he was actually surprised. He's like, oh, almost like paraphrasing a little bit, like, oh, I didn't realize that. Like you are actually supporting, and that's what we try to do as much as possible. We try to support the local businesses. And there's multiple ways we do that. One of the things that's core to our business here is we try to always pay our bills on time. And so you can go talk to Clive, you can go talk to Ming, you can go talk to any of those people in the village, and then they'll tell you that we pay our bills on time or early. And so that's one of the ways that we try to support those businesses, as well as not expect them to be giving us credit for 30, 60, 90 days because we're not paying our bills. We just pay them on time. And so I think if you come and meet with us or meet with me and get to know who we are, I think your perception of what we're doing might change a little bit.
So some people have even made comments suggesting you act like you can do anything you want because of the color of your skin or because you're a foreigner. What would you say to those who feel that way about you?
Yeah, I had those words actually spoken directly to me, and it hurt a little bit after everything we feel we've kind of done to try to integrate and help the community here. And so I think I would say, speaking for Heather and I again, I don't think we're not expecting privilege here. What we're looking for is partnership, and that is working with the community, working with other businesses in the community. There's a saying, a rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Yeah.
And so if I can partner with you and we can do something together, an event or whatever, that we both benefit from, that's just so much better. So I think it's kind of the same theme in a lot of the questions you've asked already, is like it's coming together. It's all about communication. Like we've got to get to know each other. We've got to sit down and collaborate and talk and learn about each other. And so, yeah, that was a tough day, that day that was said to me, because we've tried not to, Heather and I have tried not to portray that into the village. And so, yeah, hopefully our actions will eventually speak true to who we really are.
How can locals and foreign residents find common ground? Do you think there are misunderstandings on both sides that need to be cleared up? And how do we go about mending those misconceptions?
I'm going to turn this one around on you a little bit. So there's this term being thrown around, local and foreign and not local. I'm interested, how would you define who's a local?
I was born right here in Placencia. So I consider myself a local. And over the years, that at the definition for me, that has changed because I've learned more about the world. And my definition today, a local would be somebody who have, because a lot of us Belizeans don't understand how much sacrifice it makes to take your money, your savings, whatever you have, back to, say, the United States, Canada, wherever you come from, to come here and invest that money. That's not something that people do lightly. That's something very serious because that's a risk. And if you are willing to come to our community in our country and invest and live here and become part of this, you didn't just, oh, I'm going to buy this business and I'm going to just hire managers, whatever, and leave, go back to the States because I have 15, 20, 30 other business I'm dealing with. But if you live here, you run that business, you hire locals, you work with locals, you invest in the community, whether it's money, it's time, you go to public meetings and you try to find out what's going on in the community, see how you can contribute, see how you're impacting it, whether positive or negative, then I consider that person a local. Whether that person is from America, whether it's from Mexico, whether they're from Central America, whether they're from South America, wherever, if they come here and do that I just explained, I consider that person a local.
Okay. Well, I think to answer your question now, I think the first thing we need to do is stop using local and foreign as two different things.
Yeah.
When I look at the village, I see two groups of people. I see locals, kind of as you described them, and I see guests. Those are our tourists. Those are our snowbirds.
There you go.
Those are the people who come and go. They come for 6
they
weeks
come
and they're gone
and
for
they're-
3 months.
yeah, correct.
Those are guests of our village.
Yes.
So I see locals and guests. I don't see locals and foreigners.
Yeah.
And so I think the first thing we probably need to do is come to some sort of collaborative community agreement that's like, we're going to stop this locals versus foreigners thing that we've got going on. But I think it's coming together, back to communication, coming together and hearing each other's point of views, learning about each other a little bit, and realizing that a lot of times we have the same goals in mind.
Yeah.
We're after the same things. Like, we didn't come here and invest in this piece of property and in the Placencia Beach Club for a return on investment. We came here to invest in the community and make this our home. And so that's the kind of thing that I think is great. And that's why when you came to me and said, hey, I want to do this start this video series, and we talked about it, I thought it was a great opportunity for us to get broadcast out to a wider audience than just one-on-one guerrilla warfare. That we can,
without attacking anybody,
Yeah.
just talking about issues, solutions, talking about different perspective and so on and so forth.
And I think one of the things that hurts is, like, I feel sometimes when I'm going to use the word foreigner, even though I just said I didn't want to use it. When a foreigner stands up in a meeting and says, hey, I have a suggestion to solve this problem, there's this knee-jerk reaction of, oh, well, if you want it to be like it was where you came from, why don't you just go back there? As opposed to, like we talked about earlier, like, that's an interesting idea. This part of that won't work here in Placencia, but this piece of it will. So let's take the piece that will work, mold it into what works for Placencia as a community, and use that rather than just throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
I agree 100%. Like you said earlier, and this is something, just to add, I was the chairman of Placencia from 2010 to 2013, and something I tapped into was not only people who came here from other countries who are retired in many different areas of skills, but even Belizeans who are retired here in Placencia that have a high level of skill that they're just sitting on. I tapped into those things. I talked to people who knew way more than me about a particular issue. So that is something that I hope that this series can trigger, that we need to encourage each other to use each other, coordinate, so we can attack problems, find solutions, and implement them.
Yeah. I think one of the things in talking to some Belizeans in the village is there's obviously an access to capital problem in, I think, Belize in general, not just to Placencia. That it's hard to get access to credit or money to start a business or improve my business. And honestly, I'm struggling with that too. Like, we've got development plans here for the beach club that we've got to go find funding for. I don't have bottomless pockets. And so we're struggling with the same thing. But I think if we brought together expats that are in this village that either have deep pockets and would invest in projects here already, so they might be willing to invest in things, or know how to build a capital network that then Placencians could tap into to build their business or buy that new boat they need for their tour operator business. That's just one example of, I think, if we looked around, we probably could solve that problem without even leaving Placencia.
Yeah, Placencia has a unique opportunity where we can develop what is called a community development fund.
Yeah.
Something that is a legal instrument that help people in the community. And you, like you said, you have people who are already investing here who might want to be a part of that. We don't know. It can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd even like to go as far as seeing almost like a center for entrepreneurship where we provide training for people who want to start a business that teaches them the leadership, the marketing, the accounting, the legal, everything aspect of having to run a real business.
Yes,
taxes, how to pay your taxes and your people. I think that would be huge, coupled with a community development fund like you're talking about, and an education center where, hey, I want to start X business, and you can get the training and mentorship that you may need to develop the skills you don't have to already run your business.
Oh yeah, and the community development fund, it can encompass a whole lot of issues. For example, we're having issues with elderly people who need help. We're having people who are having medical emergencies that need to tap into resources immediately. That if we have something structured, that would help a lot of people in the community. And that is something that would be feeding out into helping people, and people feeding into it so that it has the resources to feed out to help people. So,
yeah, like I said, I think if we really looked at it, I think we could solve those problems here with people who are already in the village that want to invest in the local village.
Excellent, excellent. So, you ever interacted with the Placencia Village Council regarding these and other issues? What has the experience been like for you?
I would describe my experience as a mixed experience. And let me say this. I choose to believe that the village council, the previous one and the new one, that they truly operate and believe that they're operating in the best interests of the village. Does that mean we're always going to agree on the approaches or what might be best for the village? No. It's like any political office. Even if you get as high up as the prime minister, just look at the criticism he gets from the few elected officials on the other side of the aisle, right? And so I was talking to a Belizean recently, and he kind of phrased it this way. He said, "It's the village council's job to manage and run the village. It's my job to criticize them." I don't necessarily agree we should always criticize them, but I do think as a community and as a member of this village, that if we do have a disagreement on something, then let's figure that out. You know, maybe we need to talk through it. Maybe there is a better approach. But I think, again, it's back to that communicating and learning to integrate everybody into it. And so, I think I just want to leave that as like, I truly believe that they think that they're doing the best thing for the village. In their heart, that's what they think they're doing.
Okay.
And so, approaches I may not agree with approaches, but at least they're operating in what they believe is the best interests.
Yeah, and as you can see in this interview up to this point, Mr. Kenny has made no attempts to attack anyone at any point about anything. All he's doing is, we have issues, we need to work together to find solutions. It's really that simple. It's an equation. It's simple, but we have to work together. Attacking foreigners and locals and who is Belize and who is not, it's not going to work. It will not work. It has never worked. Do you feel the village council is equipped and empowered to deal with challenges like beach erosion and rapid development, or are these issues that need more support from higher levels of government?
I think, I mean, obviously erosion's a big issue. It needs to be from a higher level. I think one of the things that frustrates me the most about the village council and village councils in general, these people dedicate time to managing their village, and they don't get paid anything to do it. I think the chairman maybe gets $100 or something a month or something I've heard. I don't even know that's true. I've just heard that. Yeah. Now I know there's other side benefits of being at that level, and you get information about things before they happen. But I think it's a gross disservice to the people who dedicate their time to managing a village like Placencia that don't get anything monetarily in return for what they're doing. So I think they're under-resourced, they're understaffed, and they're under-supported. We've seen that in spades with the erosion problem, right? Mm-hmm. And that is, they'll go meet with the government about erosion. Government will say, we're going to do this, this, and this. And 2 months later, there still feels like there's been no action from the government. So I do think they do need some support. Not some support, they need a lot of support. Yeah. Some issues we can probably handle ourselves, but erosion is a big enough issue that we need help. We need outside experts. We need Department of Environment. We need all these people involved in finding a solution. I've actually personally been trying to get Mr. Mai to come down to Placencia himself and see the problem rather than sending his deputy or Kendrick or somebody like that down here to report back to him. I've been emailing him every week and saying, I'm willing to host you here. We need you to come down. You need to see firsthand what's going on here in the village, hear from the villagers, hear from the property owners. He's not responded to a single email I've sent him about that.
You have to admit that it is a bit disheartening that Placencia is the largest tourist destination in mainland Belize, and we're having such issues of getting support from central government.
Yeah.
And that may not be because of the officials not wanting to help. It probably is more of a structural issue. Like you said, the village councils need to be more empowered. It's really that simple. What kind of relationship would you like to see between local authorities, like the village council, and investors or developers such as yourself?
You're gonna probably when we go back and watch this video later, we're gonna hear the same thing coming up. It's communicate, communicate, communicate. It's the same thing that we tell our leadership team here at the Beach Club. Communicate, communicate, communicate. I can't fix a problem I don't know exists. We need your input on how to handle this situation. Like we go to our lead team, we're like, culturally, is this the right way for us to address this problem? Because we're bringing our experience from running businesses in the U.S., right? And we come down here and we're like, we want to implement this program with our team. Culturally, is that a fit? Will it be received well? How do we shape that to be the right thing? So I think it just goes back to that communicate, communicate, communicate. And rather than blasting them on Facebook, learn what they're doing. An example I have is there's a developer that is developing a resort, and in order to develop the lots, they had to take out some mangroves. And I know mangroves are a really touchy subject. I happen to know the developer, so I just talked to him about the issue. He's like, we have all the permits and licenses and requirements and inspections being done for the mangroves being removed. He said, what the community doesn't know is when we're done building, we have plans to put in more mangrove, replant more mangroves than we took out. But man, talk about getting blasted on Facebook for a week or so about taking out the mangroves. But nobody went in the group that's doing the blasting, never went and actually approached the developer and said, tell me what's going on. And they might have not been as forward about the way they went about it if they had just talked with him and realized, we have to clear the mangroves to do the building, then we're going to put them back. And I know that's a several-year process, and there's going to be those kind of arguments. But at least he had a plan to fix what he had to take out. And so, in a long-winded way to answer your question, it's about communication and talking to each other and seeing that we may have different points of view, but we probably can come together and find a common solution.
Well, maybe Behind the Beach, this series will help in some of that communication, because this is something I'm doing on my own time and my own dime. Because as a farmer chairman, a barn Placencian, I want to be a part of developing that communication. I want to see this community, this peninsula develop, where we have a coordinated effort in developing everything on the peninsula. So I will make the effort. It will not just be interviews. I will be doing journalism. I find out about some controversial thing. I'll go to the owner and say, "Hey, let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you what you should say. Let the people know what's happening. Clear things up, and we go from there." So, looking back at everything that's happened, would you have done anything differently with the knowledge you have now?
I mean, I would say hindsight's always 20/20, right? We were talking about it earlier. If we're getting older, now we have to wear readers and things like that in order to be able to read the pages. So hindsight's always 20/20. I think, especially when it comes to our seawall, I think when we did that, there was not a community response to the erosion issue at that point. I might even go as far as saying that it had not even really been acknowledged that it was coming for Placencia as well. It's coming for everybody else, but wasn't coming for us for some reason. And so I don't know that we would have done anything different. I will say this, good intention doesn't always produce good outcome, right? And so we are still learning, we're talking to people, getting better at dealing with these kind of issues here in Placencia and in the village. But I think given the knowledge we had then and the knowledge we have now, it's two different places. So I don't know if we would have done anything differently, because like I said earlier, this wasn't about us wanting to own the public beach in front of our property. It was about wanting to make sure it was still there in 10 or 20 years for the kids that are growing up in the village or maybe haven't been born yet can come and use.
Absolutely. If a comprehensive long-term plan for coastal protection and beach management is developed for Placencia, would you be open to participating in it? Maybe even supporting it financially or with technical input?
It's kind of hard to answer not knowing what the solution would be, right? So I think from my point of view, my commitment would be, if a comprehensive community-based solution is come up with and we review it and it makes sense and we can support it, we'll find a way to support it. We've already put $30,000 into what we did 2 years ago, both in manpower and just the purchasing of the rocks and having them placed. And so, financially, we feel like we've done a lot already about the erosion. That's not saying we wouldn't also help in the future if the plan is right. But it also has to be a plan that is going to be implemented community-wide, not be targeting specific people and doing specific things in specific places. We really need to target the entire community if we're going to do it. Otherwise, you create a us versus them situation again, which is what we're talking here about, trying to do away with.
It needs to be comprehensive.
Yeah. So my commitment officially would be, if a solution is found, I'm committed to looking at it and discussing it. And if there's a way for us to be involved that makes sense, then we totally would get involved.
Excellent, excellent. So you came to Placencia to build a life and a business here. What do you hope Placencia looks like in 10, 20 years? And what role do you envision yourself in that future?
I've actually thought a lot about this, to be honest with you. Because I don't want Placencia to be the next Daytona Beach or San Pedro. let's even go there. I want Placencia to develop and progress at the pace that's right for Placencia. So we don't lose that charm that we have in the village, but we are growing to become, I'd like to see Placencia become the number 2 coastal tourism destination in the country. Finally put Key Calker in our rearview mirror and be the number 2 coastal destination. But we got a lot of work to do. I looked at the numbers from BTB for the first quarter of this year, and of the 6 coastal tourism areas in Placencia or in Belize, all of the southern, so Placencia, Hopkins, and southern outlying islands, were all flat or down. Actually, they were all down for the year. All the northern, San Pedro, Key Calker, and the northern outlying islands were all up for the first quarter of the year. And so we have a lot of work to do. I don't know if that's a lack of accommodation space, like inventory, if it's a lack of the right kind of inventory. I don't know what that is. But that's part of that plan that I was talking about, where we need to dive into that and understand those numbers better, and say, this is the product we need to develop to move Placencia forward. And I'd love to be involved in that, not only because it's back to like, it will help my business to be involved in it, but it also helps the community. So both parties benefit from us getting together and figuring that out. There's this document, like I think it was called like Plan Placencia 2020 or something.
Peninsula 2020.
Peninsula 2020.
Yes.
That I've read over a couple of times. And interestingly enough, it actually identified the foreigner versus local problem in that document. And so this isn't a new problem. And so I'd like to see a document like that that's created for this community that says, in the next 5, 10, 15 years, 3, 5, 7 years, however time frame we want to do it, this is the direction we want to go. This is the proper type of development for Placencia as a community going forward, and then try to attract that in, so that we can get those things done. Whether it's we need parks because we want to attract more families, or we need more family-based entertainment. Do we need more nighttime entertainment for young adults that are coming here that don't want to go to bed at 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night like the older people do? Speaking for as one of those people, and so I think coming together and doing that, I think that would be a huge benefit, and that we're all working from the same plan and playbook, as opposed to us all working kind of against each other in some cases.
Yeah, I actually, I was the chairman of Placencia when that document was developed. I sat on the steering committee, because a steering committee was formed between that Peninsula 2020 white paper was the brainchild of the Placencia Village Council, Semite Village Council, and the Placencia BTIA, along with some other NGOs in the area, because that same conversation we're having right here, that happened back then. And something was done about it, but the document didn't go far enough, in my humble opinion. That document should have been the foundation to a tourism master plan for the Placencia Peninsula. Belize does have, BTB does have a tourism master plan for the country, but each destination should have a tourism master plan. And Placencia got left out because there was not a detailed plan, and there wasn't a structure in place that, all right, in this plan, we did a SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats, and we did a gap analysis. All right, we have this, but we don't have this, and these are things people are looking for. So how can we now create and incorporate that into a plan where we actively go out and seek investors to come and invest in those types of business? Because right now, people are, all right, I'll build a bar here. I'll build a cafe over here. I'll build something over here. And it might not necessarily work because there's not a gap analysis that get these investors and said, hey guys, if you invest this type of business over here or in the community, blah, 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 whatever, We have business incentives that we will give you, tax breaks, whatever it may be, that can be done and incorporated into a tourism master plan. So you're absolutely right. You're 100% right. We need to develop a proper plan for the Placencia Peninsula as a tourism destination, because I'll close with this. From what you just said, I think Placencia has an identity crisis.
Yeah, I think so right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not sure who we want to cater to.
Sometimes it feels like tourism happened to Placencia rather than Placencia happening to tourism. And we kind of need to reverse
I
that.
love that. Yeah.
And like,
Well, I don't love it, but
Yeah.
I love that you said it so simply.
yeah, like we need to take control of tourism, do it at the pace that's right for Placencia,
Yeah.
and do the things that we need to build tourism into the future.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, like you say, I'm going to put a bar here or a coffee shop here. Or I'm going to buy a boat and I'm going to start doing fishing tours.
Yeah.
Like, what do we really need? Do we need parks? Do we need entertainment for kids? Do we
Exactly.
need? What are the things that we need
Exactly.
in the village?
Exactly.
And honestly, without even talking about parking, like that's the next crisis for our village, right?
That's another topic. We can go way down with that one. Well, Shane, finally, what message or hope would you like to share with the people of Placencia as we all move forward from here?
I think we have a great core of passionate people that are passionate about Placencia as a community. Whether you're Placencian born, you're Belizean, you've moved here from another place, I think there's a great core of people that if they can come together, work together, we could develop this plan, we could work together to move into the future rather than working against each other. We don't need to be building walls, we need to be building bridges between all of these people. And so I think my final message would be, I think we have what we need to solve a lot of our problems that we can solve ourselves. Like erosion's a big problem, we need help external, right, from the government. But there's a lot of things in the village. I think we have the expertise, we probably have the capital, and we have the desire and the passion to go get those things done. We just need to come together, figure it out, and move forward as one united group.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Shane, thank you very much.
I appreciate it, yeah.
To the audience, thanks for watching this very first episode of Behind the Beach. As you just heard, these conversations aren't always easy, but they're necessary. Because behind every seawall, every development, every opinion, there's a person. And behind this beach is a community. Let's keep the dialogue going. Like, comment, share your thoughts, and follow Behind the Beach for more honest conversations that help shape the future of Placencia. See you next time.